Imagine waking up tomorrow and every skin and hair care item you own is gone. Not just empty, gone. No backups, no, yeah, that will do until I get something else. Everything is gone. Empty shelves, empty drawers, and the question, what will I actually buy now? I test a lot of products, but very few earn a permanent place in my routine. So in this video, I'll show you what I would repurchase exactly if that had happened to me. The products that have stood the test of time, the ones that work very well with my tretinoin, the ones that make my routine feel curated rather than complicated. And yes, I will add up what that would cost in the end, just for fun, I guess. And if we haven't met yet, welcome. I'm Dr. Anne. I'm a medical doctor with a passion for skincare, and I'm here to teach you how to best take care of your skin and general well-being. Starting with cleansers. The one that I would get first as an evening cleanse to get off all my makeup is the Geek & Gorgeous Mighty Melt Cleansing Balm. It is one of those products that feels much more luxurious than the price point would make you expect. It has a great texture, it melts away all my makeup, it sometimes struggles a little with waterproof mascara, but I forgive that because it rinses perfectly clean. You really don't need a washcloth. So for me in the past, it has doubled up as morning cleanse as well if I was really packing very minimal. So that would be my choice for first cleanse in the evening / makeup remover. And I don't really have a firm favorite for second cleanse, not because I haven't tested good ones. There are quite a few that I have tested that I've happily used up, but many of them lack in the category of fun. I know skincare should be efficient, not fun, but when you have so many things to choose from, you want something that really makes your heart sing, something that you enjoy, that you look forward to using, and for that, I have not found the one yet. So for now, I would go with another Geek & Gorgeous one, simply because it's the one that I pick up the most, the Geek & Gorgeous Jelly Joker Low pH Cleanser, which has a nice texture, is non-stripping on the skin, leaves my skin feeling refreshed, and is very affordable and easy to pick up. But if you have any suggestions for a fun second cleanse, drop them in the comments. I'm all ears. Moving on to toner / ampoule / essence / face mists, you have it. No, they are not necessary in a skincare routine, but I like to have them because with age my skin shows more signs of dehydration. I used to be very oily. Now I'm no longer oily, but more on the dehydrated, mature side. And I find that this lightweight layer of hydration really helps me make my skin look healthy and plump. And for the summer, I would get the Skin 104 Centella Ampoule, which is basically just that. It's very lightweight hydration at a very reasonable price. It also has Centella Asiatica, which is said to be soothing and have other skin beneficial benefits, have other skin beneficial let's stick with benefits. I know some people say it doesn't do much, but for me it does what it's supposed to do. It leaves my skin feeling hydrated and calm, and it feels like absolutely nothing when applied. So no matter how hot it is outside, I really enjoy putting it on before I follow up with my serum step. And for the winter, when I need something a little more and something a little richer, I would go for the Skin 104 Probiotica Essence Toner. The Probiotica line is the line they have for more mature skin. It features fermented ingredients, make of that what you will. In theory, fermentation breaks down the lead ingredient into smaller bits that can easier penetrate the skin, which can be beneficial, but depends on which ingredients you break down. In this case, it is Centella Asiatica that they are fermenting. It's not that I actively look out for, but this toner is a little thicker. So I like it for the winter months when it's colder and I want my skin to feel a little more nourished. It's still non-tacky, still lightweight enough so I can layer it easily. It also features some panthenol and some ceramides that are a recurring theme in my skincare routine that you will notice through the other steps, because I use tretinoin for my adult acne. That makes my skin prone to irritation and a disrupted barrier. Then for my favorite exfoliant / active, the exfoliant I use is the Paula's Choice 2% BHA liquid exfoliant. It is great for my congestion. I still get congestion even though I have tretinoin, and to combat that I use a salicylic acid product 3 times a week, and this is the one that I have been coming back to ever since I first discovered it. I really just bummed out that I didn't try it earlier on in my acne journey. It would probably have saved me quite a lot of irritation, because what I find with salicylic acid, the sweet spot between keeping congestion at bay and irritating my skin is hard to find, and with that works perfectly fine. I also like the texture. I know there are others out there that work as well, both in terms of irritation potential and in terms of congestion combating, but for me the texture in Paula's Choice is just more elegant, and I personally am willing to pay more for that. That's a personal decision, you don't have to. Others work just as well, but for me, Paula's Choice is the one that I would go back to. And I don't really have a retinoid recommendation that I would repurchase because, as I said, I am on prescription tretinoin for adult acne, and anything you can get over the counter would not be strong enough to have the same effect. But when I'm asked, I always recommend the Geek & Gorgeous A-Game products. Usually the A-Game 10, because A-Game 20, which is a little stronger, takes much longer to sink in. So that is a trade-off you need to discuss with yourself if you're willing to make that. It probably depends on when before you actually hit the sheets you do your skincare routine. If you do it 5 minutes before you go to bed, probably 20 isn't the one to go for. If you do it when you come home and then spend your evening and then eventually go to bed, 20 will probably work fine as well. If money was no objection, I would go for the Medik8 Crystal Retinol line. This is beautiful, beautiful in texture, but it is quite a lot more expensive, so you have to see if that would be worth it for you. Moving on to my favorite serums. The first one is one that hasn't changed over the years. It's the Geek & Gorgeous Sea Glow Serum. I love ascorbic acid. I've been using vitamin C daily, and this is the one that I go back to because it is great in texture. It is lightweight, it does not irritate my skin, and it is very affordable and easy for me to pick up at the drugstore, and it has never ever oxidized on me. It works perfectly fine for the 3 months plus I need to finish one bottle. I know not everyone does get along with L-ascorbic acid because it needs a low pH and that can be irritating, but for me it works perfectly fine, so I don't feel the need to stray from it. And the second serum I always have in my routine is one that contains copper peptide, and there I actually have a new one, the Medik8 Advanced Liquid Peptides MP, that I have first tested in 2025, and that has become my absolute favorite, with great light lotiony texture. Peptides or copper peptides are not a must-have in your routine. I want to incorporate them because I have everything else down to the perfect routine, at least for me the perfect routine, so I treat them as an add-on, and I am willing to spend a little more on the texture that I'd like. If you're on a budget, you can totally skip the peptide step and opt for other things and still have a well-rounded routine. And if you're on a budget and want peptides or copper peptides, there are also more affordable alternatives, but for me the texture in this one is absolutely worth spending the extra money, because I mentioned it in the cleanser category. I don't only want my skincare to work. I want it to be a treat to myself. I want to feel good when I do it, and I pay for that. But I am well aware that this is what I pay for and that I don't pay for extraordinary performance. Again, personal choice. The Medik8 serum also features dual mini proteins, which are a very interesting area of research. I go more in depth in the review that I did on the product, but this is not something that has a whole body of science behind it. We rarely have that in skincare, with the exception of, let's say, tretinoin, which has been used as a medication, but it is something that might turn out to be beneficial in the future. If I would stick to the absolute basics, that would be the serum part, but I mentioned before, I get more dehydrated, easily dehydrated these days, so I want something that adds extra hydration on top of the toner, essence, ampoule, face mist, whatever step. So I also have a hydrating serum, but usually one that is hydrating with an oomph. So hydration plus something. again, I feel like at my age, I need my products to pack more punch than they did when I was like 25. Then a hydrating serum would have been perfectly fine. So one that I really enjoy is the Inkey List Hyaluronic Acid Serum because it has hyaluronic acid and some peptides and glycerin. It has a lovely texture, lightweight, non-sticky, and is very affordable. Great to layer with my other serums and great to use in the mornings. And then if I want something richer, something more nourishing, because it's cold outside, because it's the evenings, I go for the Skin 104 Probiotica Intensive Ampoule. And I know it is called an ampoule, but I didn't feature it in the ampoule step because right from the texture, it is almost like a light lotion. So for me, it works well as the serum step. When I first tried it and was a little more oily, I even used it in very hot summer nights as last step instead of a moisturizer. It has a lot of soothing ingredients, again, panthenol, ceramide, Centella asiatica, as well as fermented ingredients. And I really feel like it hydrates my skin well, but also helps calm it down. And it also features niacinamide, and I actively look to have at least one niacinamide product in my routine because niacinamide helps tolerate tretinoin, helps reduce the retinoid uglies. Moving on to eye cream, which is actually a hard category because I had the same favorites year after year after year, and I was fully prepared to put these two in as well. And then I realized I had finished them at the beginning of the year and then shopped my stash. So I would still consider them my favorites, but I have not repurchased them in a whole year, which makes me kind of think, well, if they are so special to you, why aren't they in your routine? I'll leave it to you to judge if they count as favorites or not, but I will still include them because I haven't found anything else that would replace them, just things that I liked as well and wanted to finish up. And the first one is the Inkey List Caffeine Eye Serum or Caffeine Eye Cream, which is very lightweight. I use it in the mornings, and yes, it has caffeine. It also has some peptides, but I mainly like it because it doesn't make my makeup break down. It's not too greasy, and it is amazing at depuffing my eyes. Like, you apply it and your eyes are like wide awake and tight within, not tight as in this, you know, these things that you apply and then they form like a film. Can't stand these. Just in a relaxed, depuffed way within, I don't know, 10 minutes. And apparently my eyes get puffier by the day with age, so I really appreciate that. For the evenings, I have one that is quite on the other end of the price spectrum, the Murad Retinol Youth Renewal Eye Serum that I adore. I mentioned that I use tretinoin all over my face, but I wouldn't dream of taking it up to my eyes. I really often get the question, can I take my tretinoin up around my eyes? And you do you can do whatever you want, but I personally wouldn't. My skin reacts quite strongly to tretinoin, so I imagine if I would apply it around my eyes, they would just flake off, and I'm not willing to irritate that. And tretinoin too close to the eyes can increase dry eyes, and I already have dry eyes from wearing contacts and staring at the screen, so not something I personally would do, which is why I look for dedicated eye products that have a retinoid in them. And this one is amazing in texture, it doesn't irritate my eyes. I really enjoy it, despite, yes, it is very, very pricey. Now, favorite moisturizer. I've been doing these videos since 2019, and if you go back, this category used to be almost empty because moisturizers were just you can sometimes use them, but my skin was so oily, I only needed the most lightweight options. That has changed. This routine is much bigger now. Now I have a lightweight one for the summer, I have an intermediate one, and I have a quite nourishing one for the evenings, and then one extra that will get an honorable mention. The first one, the light one, is the Murad Nutrient Charged Water Gel, which is a gorgeous pink, fluffy gel type moisturizer with ceramides and peptides, growth factors, perfectly fine. I do not use it for the ingredients it has. I mean, I appreciate them, but I want my moisturizer to hydrate my skin, keep hydration in, and make my skin feel happy and calm. I don't want it to do the working part. That's what my serums are for. But this one, it is great. It is amazing. I enjoy using it. I enjoy looking at it in the tub. So despite being pricey, it has been repurchased numerous times. And for the opposite weather situation, for when it is really, really cold outside, I want something that deeply nourishes my skin, but not something that is greasy. I still can't stand the oil slick, slugging feeling on my skin. I don't think that I will ever get used to it. And for that, it's another one from the Skin 104 Probiotica line. And I know they feature quite heavily here, but I swear it's not sponsored. It's their line aimed at mature skin. And I feel for me, they tick all the boxes and are quite affordable. Again, ceramides and all that stuff. But for me, it's the texture and the way it makes my skin feel that makes this one outstanding and worth repurchasing. And for the in-between days, when I want something more than a gel moisturizer, but nothing that is that rich, I go with the Real Barrier Intense Moisture Hyaluronic Acid Cream. The one in the tube, not the one in the pot. They are very, very different. The brand has this, they call it MLE technology, which basically means that they have the skin lipids in a different ratio, and this ratio should allow them to arrange perfectly fine, just like they would do in the skin if you look at the structures under a microscope. I didn't look at the cream under a microscope. I can't speak for that. I can just say that it is exactly the right point between nourishing and lightweight. And the one I currently have has been stolen by my daughter, whose skin type is acne prone, but more on the dry side. So apparently it is a win for different generations. And it also again has ceramides. It has allantoin, panthenol, and madecassoside. So when I look at them now side by side, the soothing part seems to be what I am excited about in my moisturizer. Honorable mention goes to the La Roche-Posay Cicaplast Balm B5, which is absolutely not what I look for in a moisturizer in terms of texture and cosmetical elegance. It is very, very heavy, very borderline greasy, but when my skin starts acting up because of cold winds and indoor heating and all that stuff, and you get this flaking here around the triangle around nose and mouth that you just know your skin is getting upset with you. A thick layer of that overnight will almost always sort it out for me. So absolutely a staple, even though it's not something that I use daily. Moving on to my favorite sunscreens of 2025, which is a very, very boring category if you have watched the other videos. For outdoors, anything that is sweat-inducing activities, summertime, prolonged periods outdoors, I use the La Roche-Posay UV Immune 400 SPF 50+, because it is sweat resistant, has a great coverage through all the UV spectrums, amazing, and is, despite being sweat resistant, still comfortable to wear. It's not, you won't feel it lightweight, but it is something that I can get on board with for the protection. If I want something that I don't feel, which is usually then when I know I'll just be working at the office or pop in and out of the house, but not do outdoor exercise activities that will cause me to sweat, I go for one of the office sunscreens I love, and out of that there are two. The Skin 104 Hyaluronic Water Fit Sun Serum, which is great, lightweight, and has a very natural finish, which is why I tend to gravitate to that one more in the warmer months. And then the Beauty of Joseon Sun Relief Plus Probiotic SPF 50+. That is a little more dewy, a little more hydrating, which is why I prefer it when it gets colder outside. These are the two office sunscreens, and then I have the Biore UV Aqua Rich SPF 50+. Don't know if I'm getting the names right. I'm sorry, I will write them on the screen, which is the one that I use year round for touch-ups. It is so lightweight that I don't feel the need to immediately run off and wash my face and do everything again, because I know reapplication is incredibly important, but having skincare plus sunscreen plus sweats plus another layer of sunscreen on your face is just not my favorite feeling, and with that works perfectly fine. And the last one is hair care. I don't really have a favorite shampoo. That hasn't changed over the years. I just grab whatever is on offer at the drugstore. And for conditioner, something that I have been repurchasing over the last few months is conditioners from the L'Oreal El Vital line, either their bond building conditioner or their glycolic gloss conditioner, neither for the shine or the bond building, but for the smoothness and softness they give my hair. So for their silicone contents mainly. For bond building, I still, after all these years, rely on the Olaplex No. 3 hair pre-wash treatment that I do every Sunday. And for during the week, once a week in between, I use the K18 leave-in molecular hair repair mask. And that one only on the length after washing. Other than that, before bed and before I brush my hair, the Garnier Fructis multi-use Wonder Oil, which is again quite silicone heavy, but that is what I need to keep these tangle free. And that is what I personally would purchase. Not everything is results driven, even though everything has a place and a function in my routine. Some are purchased even though they are expensive because I like the texture and I like how they make me feel. With that in mind, I did the math, and everything, including hair care, would set me back 643 euro, which is quite a lot. Out of that, around 91 euro are hair care, so the majority is spent on my skin. I would be excited to know what your ideal routine would cost and which products we may have in common. So if you happen to do this exercise with me, please leave me your answers in the comments